Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Monday, October 17, 2022, from our new studio in Centerville, Mass, 1480 Falmouth Road. Yes, the Eagle has finally landed, and we are super stoked to be here today. An amazing week in sports, from the Braves ousted, the Dodgers ousted, the Mariners put up a hell of a fight. They're gone. Yankees, Guardians, Game 5, winner take all. College football, BAMA goes down. If you watched any of our shows, I hope you grabbed Mr. Hooker at 14-1 for the Heisman. He is now second favorite at plus 440. So many places to go. NFL yesterday, Packers go down, BUCS go down, Ravens go down, 49ers go down. It was a poop storm, but we're here to get you ready to talk a little weekend review and get you ready for a little Monday Night Football, a little Game 5 in the Bronx. There's a big slate in hockey. I mean, this show could last for hours, but we'll get you started anyways with the one and only Mr. SouthSide RILEY himself, Mr. Riley Magnuson. Afternoon, Riley. How are you?
Afternoon, my friend. It is a beautiful Monday to be alive over here in the old Windy City. I am feeling good about a lot of things. Obviously, we'll talk about what I'm not feeling good about as far as my NFL team is concerned. But, man, it's tough to be upset regardless of how the weekend shaked out from that perspective with how incredible Saturday was for college football, baseball slate that we had. That was one of the best Saturdays of sports that I can remember in a while. And then obviously a fun NFL Sunday. Whoever it was, I know a lot of people obviously had rough days. I had a really nice day. So I'm Envelope Monday, as you like to call it, is happening in my world over here. So I am ready to rock and roll wherever you'd like to, my friend. Obviously, huge recap we could go on and on about. We've got Game 5 tonight. Should be an awesome one in New York. Awesome atmosphere there. And then Monday Night Football, which I don't have too strong of thoughts of, but yeah, the people complaining about the Denver Broncos are going to have to sit through it again tonight. But we'll see. We'll see how that one shakes out. That one could be, hopefully, will be a better one than we've had the last two Thursdays on Monday Night Football here tonight. But like I said, I'm ready to rock and roll wherever you'd like to, my friend. NBA starting up and I think tomorrow as far as opening night, and then a full slate on Wednesday. So I'm sure maybe that will have to be the one we have to cut for time as far as the NBA, and maybe we'll get to that tomorrow and the next day. But yeah, good day to talk about sports. I'll leave it right there, and we can go wherever you'd like, my friend.
I'll take it back to Saturday. I guess the headliner, Braves, you could see right away Acuna was not engaged. I think he had 3 strikeouts. Did not help out the center fielder on the JT inside the park homer. Bobbled a play out there in right field. They were not engaged at all. Follow that up. I'll be 100% honest with you. I fell asleep with the Dodgers up 3-0. And then next thing you know, 5-3. Thanks for playing. Dodgers gone. Last night, Yankees stave off elimination. But let's get back to the Braves and the Dodgers. Thoughts initially, when all 4 of those series were put out, they were all plus 2-1. I said out loud, you could not take any of the favorites. All the 4 were live dogs. Obviously, Phillies plus 200 come running in. Padres plus 200 come running in. The favorite Astros, 3 games in a row. But let's be honest here.
One swing every game.
Game 1. Should have won game 1. And the third game went 16 innings.
Yeah. I think it was one swing every single game, right? I mean, it wasn't game 2, Alvarez on the one swing. So, yeah, that one could have swung. Yeah, but going back to the Braves-Phillies, I mean, the atmosphere for Philadelphia was just absolutely unbelievable. And sticking with the Phillies for a second, that lineup is such a good lineup of when they get rolling. They're such a dangerous team. If you catch them on the wrong day, wrong week, then you could have their way with them, obviously. But that wasn't the case here these last couple of weeks for the Phillies. So if they can keep that rolling, they're a dangerous team with the offense that they have. And the Braves, you mentioned with Acuna, but the entire team. Maybe not the entire team, but a lot of the team just really felt like they were going to walk in and walk through not only this series, but potentially whatever the next series was as well, and get right to the World Series. So it just felt like they were destined to be there, and obviously that wasn't the case, and they got smacked in the mouth for it. Their pitching, pitching didn't have their best week, kind of caught their pitching staff at the wrong time. So maybe if you redo things, then maybe their pitching staff has a better weekend, but obviously that wasn't the case. So kudos to Philly. That environment was fantastic, is going to continue to be fantastic. Same thing with San Diego. That was absolutely unreal. I made sure to get the coffee ready. I was riding out the full Saturday wave there. Obviously a little later for you, an hour later than it is for me. So, but I had the coffee rocking and rolling, so I stayed up through that one. But Cleveland, I mean, I don't know. I'm interested. We'll get to tonight's game, but Cleveland at home, obviously, I don't know. Maybe they needed to close that one out last night, but without without Bieber on the mound, without Sticks on the mound, it's obviously a huge question mark for them. So, the Mariners are really the one where that would have been the one that would have capped off a really fun weekend. And, I think a lot of people are probably tired of the Astros, but the Astros are a really good team, so they deserve to be there from that sense. But, I was hoping the Mariners could be the one to get things done. But, it was a hell of a baseball weekend, man.
I'm going to throw you a big curveball. I'm going to give you the stage for a minute before we come back to it. I'm going to come off the stage here for a second. I want you to go full-blown thoughts and rant on the Packers, and I'll be right back.
All right, fair enough. Let's switch gears here. He's got me going full screen here. So I guess without being prompted anything else, it's another one where I don't even know where to start as far as the Packers are concerned. Still wearing them on my chest here, as you can see. So I'm kind of taking the stance while 90% of people, sky is falling on the Packers, and I'm not saying it's I'm not the complete opposite, saying we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm absolutely not saying that, but I'm not sounding the alarm bell as hard as a lot of people are. But having said that, it is a lot of things that are really concerning, and I think if you're pointing to one specific thing as far as what's wrong with the Packers right now, that's kind of misguided. There's a number of things that is leading the Packers to be where they are right now. Adding a wide receiver weapon isn't immediately going to fix this team's problems by any stretch of the mean. Not saying that wouldn't make them better. I mean, if you add Odell, I would absolutely take Odell. Handful of other guys, maybe that makes this team better as well. But whether it's that or, even if Devontae Adams was still around, I think this team would still be 3-3 after the last 2 weeks that they've had. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been fantastic. Obviously started the game. Could have gone even poorly. Got lucky with a called back interception, but he needs to be better. But even if he is better right now, there's still other problems that need to be fixed. This offensive line has had so many shuffles going on through the first handful of weeks here, and a lot of that is on the coaching staff. They've had some head-scratching offensive line decisions, but the interior line yesterday, throughout the season, hasn't been good, but yesterday was absolutely abysmal, and that was a massive part of why that offense couldn't get going yesterday. On top of a few still the small execution ones, A.J. Dillon dropping a couple, short out passes that could have either moved the sticks, avoided a third and long, or made a third manageable, or picked up a third down. A few of those still need to be cleaned up. But the glaring issue, I think, you fix this offensive line, and then everything else can move along and be better. And like I was saying about adding a wideout, that doesn't immediately fix these problems. If you get to the point where you fix a lot of the issues, I don't know if you were listening to me, Jeff, but the interior line, I'm just sticking with the offense first. I'll go to the defense second. Sticking with the offense first, fixing that offensive line would really allow the Packers to figure out the rest of the offense and get Aaron Rodgers up to speed with this wide receivers, or if you're bringing in a receiver after that, you still have to fix this offensive line because that has been a massive problem so far. Quinnen Williams hasn't gotten enough respect today from talking heads, honestly. Again, the offensive line was abysmal, but that guy was at the Tasmanian Devil yesterday. He is an absolute stud and is going to be in the conversation as far as one of the better defensive players going forward the next handful of years. Sauce Gardner was fantastic as well. You need to watch him if you haven't been watching him. He was pretty much took Romeo Dobbs out of the game. That's kind of what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting him to be on Allen Lazard as much. But Rodgers really only had, a couple throws to Lazard. And then, last thing on the offense, the one silver lining right now, and I know I'm speaking your language, 10 catches for Mr. Bob Tonyan, 90 yards. Beautiful fantasy day there. I've been having him on my bet slip and one of my fantasy teams. And my fantasy team that I care the most part, my opponent had him on the bench, so I was living large as far as Rob Tonyan yesterday. So, I don't know that that's going to continue as far as 10 catches, 90 yards. I think you're still going to expect that touchdown number to go up, and the usage just overall to be solid. But really, kind of what I was saying. I don't know if you heard me. Adding a receiver or any receiver issue would help this team for sure, but there are bigger issues to fix before we can get to the cohesiveness of the weapons and Aaron Rodgers throwing to all these guys and utilizing Aaron Jones. If that interior offensive line is playing like that, then you can write this one off. But I have some optimism that they'll figure the offensive line out. There's been times throughout Rodgers' career where he's had issues like this with the offensive line, and by the end of things, things are looking better. David Bakhtiari, I saw some numbers. I didn't watch the film on him or anything like that. I'll have to go back and see how accurate it was. Saw some positive stats about him, so that's really encouraging. But yeah, the interior line and then a lot of other small things after that will go a long way, and that's kind of why I have some optimism of the offense. Say whatever you will about Rodgers. He can kind of tell his hand as far as when he thinks the team is doomed or not doomed. There's been previous seasons they haven't been good, and he's not going to come into the a press conference sounding optimistic. Yesterday, someone asked him, I'm paraphrasing, of what is your optimism, or where do you think this team can go, or how highly do you think of this team? And it was somewhere along the lines of probably a lot higher than you think of this team. So I still have faith that he believes in this team to some level, and that gives me some type of comfort. If he was saying this might be a long one, or kind of wishy-washy on that, then I'd be really concerned about the offense. But I think there's a lot of fixable issues. And then defensively, I still love the talent of this defense. But if this team really needs to be wants to be the team that we, the best version of this team, this defense has to be a lot better in all facets of the game. There's some positive numbers in the passing game defensively, but it is largely inconsistent, especially these last 3 weeks against the quarterbacks that we've faced. So, and not discrediting them, all those guys have had the last few weeks have looked decent and have played above what you would expect from them. But the defense needs to be not just middle of the pack defense or worse. It needs to be a top 10 defense if this team is going to go anywhere really. So and it's been bizarre. The execution and play calling has been bizarre. So I have confidence that it should be fixable, because it's not for a lack of personnel. It's a lack of execution and game planning, really, and it's been really bizarre. So, if that doesn't fix, then that is 100% on coaching, and that you could see a coaching change if things don't change defensively, the defensive success. So, I still have optimism as far as at least the playoffs. I still have a lot of optimism. You look at the standings there, along with the Rams, they're technically tied for that last spot in the playoffs. Obviously, a long way to go, but the teams below them are not instilling a lot of fear in you. There's not really any 2-4 teams or worse that you feel confident are going to come rolling through the NFC playoffs here. And so from that perspective, I still have a lot of faith that this team can get to the playoffs. But honestly, the Vikings going to Miami, and whether it was ugly or not, going to Miami, whoever was starting quarterback doesn't matter. That's the first time they've gone to Miami and won since the 70s. So to do that is regardless of what it looked like, I think that means more than people realize. So the division, obviously the Packers can still beat the Vikings and get closer. The division, you're absolutely right to be concerned, and maybe don't expect the Packers to pull that out by any means. The playoffs, I think they were still higher than minus 150 to make the playoffs, so I'm still confident this team is going to look a lot better. But the concern, though, this stretch of games is supposed to be the easiest stretch of games that they've had. So and it looks like the Giants and Jets are a lot better than a lot of people thought. I had the Giants team or season win total over. That I'm feeling pretty damn good about that, especially after yesterday as well. But nonetheless, those are two teams that if you're trying to be who you a Super Bowl contender, you have to win those games, especially yesterday in a bounce back spot. And I could come here and say the London hangover, but I heard shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Kevin Walsh, Sports Grid, kind of brought that up and said you can't really use that. The 4 teams that have gone to London are now 3-1 the following week. the Vikings, Saints, and now the Giants yesterday. So it's not exactly something you can chalk up right now if you're the Packers. So, again, I will close it with I am still optimistic. I think this team is going to look a lot better. If they lose to Washington, then you'll obviously see me with maybe the panic button on the desk and pressing it, and because the schedule gets tougher after that. But yeah, expect to bounce back. It was the first time we lost back-to-back games in the regular season in the LaFleur era. So. Yeah, if you don't think that this team can turn things around, then you should be questioning whether the coaching staff is in the right positions. And if that's where you're at, then that's where you're at. But still got a lot of optimism that this team is going to be a playoff team, maybe 10-win team when it's all said and done. So yeah, I'm not saying that a lot of people are saying the sky has fallen. That's not where I'm at. But obviously you're absolutely right to be concerned. Things have not looked good, but. It's a lot of different issues. I don't think you heard it, and that's the final thing I say. But you can't really point to one single issue as what's going on with this team. There's 2 or 3 issues on both sides of the ball that need to be fixed, and I think are fixable, but it's a tall order. So, yeah, I'll close there. But it hasn't looked good, obviously, and 3-3 after this stretch is not exactly where we'd like to be.
I said to you behind the studios before we started, I could tell by the first possession. Now, listen, I read facial expressions and body demeanor real well. I think a lot of Tom Brady for 20 years, I had to watch that locally.
Yeah.
You can see it with Aaron a lot. The first drive, he's already scowling. Outside looking in, if you noticed a lot of those passes on 2nd and 3rd down, the heave to the outside wide receiver. Back in the day when he had Adams, if Adams didn't catch that, there was always a flag. And I can say from the Patriots standpoint, all these years, they always said their wide receivers couldn't get separation. There was no separation again. So Rodgers can only stay in that pocket so long.
Yeah.
So I discussed for you the last couple of weeks, maybe LaFleur needs to get a little more creative. I'd be putting Jones in the slot more. I'd be using Dillon as the single back because Dillon, listen, from a fantasy perspective, I've been holding out Grace. I actually had Deion Jackson in a couple spots over him yesterday.
Yeah.
I did get egg on my face in one spot. I went back to Dillon. But defense was going to be, I thought, your stronger point this year. And then offensively, you were going to work the young kids in the Watson, the Dobbs of the world. You have Lazard. Tonyan, I said all year, was going to get better. He is going to be a focal point. It is a blip in the season. Could have lost the Patriots game. You had a bad second half against the Giants. You came back home flat. The Jets are they believe, and they're playing very, very well. Sauce was amazing yesterday. You can feel the energy.
Yeah, no, and I'll add a few things, and then I'll ask you a question on top of that to close this kind of conversation out. As far as the separation, that was my biggest concern with these receivers because Allen Lazard he does a lot of things well. He's awesome. He's a fantastic blocker receiver. Chemistry with Rodgers is picking up. He doesn't get a lot of separation. With that conversation, that you really saw that with how good Sauce Gardner was because Romeo Doubs kind of is the guy that has the most ability to get separation. But watch some clips of Sauce Gardner on Dobbs yesterday as at any level of your career of a cornerback, it's eye opening. But as a rookie, it was really special, and that it was a bigger part of the game than I think people realize. And again, it's Romeo Doubs. He's early in his career. You're still trying to get him going, but basically neutralized him completely. And again, Quinnen Williams, I can't say enough of how he blocked a field goal too in the first half there. So, and then I guess so maybe there was one. The last thing, as far as this is a lamer excuse for sure. Last thing I'll say. I do think there's something to be said, and this is on LaFleur. I mean, it's something you need to overcome. He has had a lack of success the last few years against people that know him very well, whether that's the 49ers and Shanahan and company, which was Robert Saleh previously. Their defense has had a lot of issues for him. Now, Robert Saleh, who, each of them are best man in each other's wedding. They know each other very, very well, and these type of matchups have not been favorable for Matt LaFleur, not to mention his brother is the offensive coordinator for the Jets. So these guys know him very well. It seems like they have kind of have his number, kind of know if the tricks that he's got up his sleeve, know how to get him off of his script. And I think that was a big part of yesterday, because you mentioned the Packers have been awesome coming out of these games on script, and they got him off the script immediately. So I think that you can, as far as getting them off of script, I think some of that can be chalked up to, Saleh and company having, a better idea of what LaFleur is going to do. So obviously that's not going to continue going forward. They don't have, not everybody has, his brother-in-law on their staff or best friend on their staff. So I think that is more, again, lame excuse coming from obviously a Packer fan trying to find any excuse. But I think it at least is a 0.1% of not helping. But then last thing, Packers, Rams, and Bucks all have, obviously preseason Super Bowl implications. None of them have looked anywhere near what you would expect them to be. Rank them 1, 2, and 3. Who you have the most confidence in turning things around to least confident? 1, 2, and 3. Bucks, Packers, Rams.
Great question. I think the Bucks turmoil started in the offseason with Brady retiring. He retired because he wanted to make sure. We all know he retired because he wanted to get over to Miami. That was nipped in the bud. Then he wanted to make sure the coach was gone. That was gone. Gronk not coming back. And then obviously the off-the-field issues with Giselle. There's a lot going on in Tampa there. Here's my thought. The Rams have a way of manipulating the salary cap.
Yep.
If I was them, there's one guy I would get, CMC from the Panthers. I would bring him over. I would tell Odell, go wherever the hell you want. We got the guy that we need, and we'll figure it out. As for your Packers, I think it's just growing pains. So I'll say it this way. I think the Packers I have the most confidence in, but this is just me talking out loud. I think the Rams, if they get a card up their sleeve, you go after CMC. Sure. And if they get CMC, I would put the Rams, then the Packers. The least faith I have right now is in the Bucs. Okay.
No, I think I'm with you. We had some breaking news I forgot to mention right before you even brought me on. That's not involving these three teams. So I'm with you. I think the Packers' ceiling is still there, but obviously the issues are fixable. Wouldn't surprise me if they continue to be like this, and it's a wishy-washy season. The Bucs, the Bucs. Maybe you have more faith in their defense to figure some things out, but their offensive line has had some issues, and I think that's an issue. And Godwin, I think, is going to get better, and you're going to see some more progression from Brady to Godwin. But aside from that, the weapons are looking a little depleted. And the Rams, I think the Rams. I mean, last year we were kind of the middle of the season was kind of iffy on the Rams as well, and then they finally second half of the season got things going. So. I think all three of them are going to look better, but I would probably agree with you on the rankings of the three as well. And the CMC news, I could see that definitely the Rams. Do they have enough? Without even looking, I mean, they've obviously shelled out some draft cap. Do they have enough draft capital to make that even happen? I don't know.
Well, it's funny because, everyone's talking, it's going to take number of picks, first rounders. You don't give up first rounders for running backs, especially with the injury prone that CMC is, number one. Number two, this is not going to be a Herschel Walker trade. So you're going to want maybe a young player or two in return, plus a couple picks. I heard third rounders. Maybe they get a second. Listen, OBJ is going to play the card, and he won't be ready till week 10 or 11. And listen, could he help? He was showing flashes. There's no doubt. He would have been the MVP in the Super Bowl if he didn't get hurt. But I would just let him go. Now, what was the breaking news that you had? I assume it's Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson to the Cardinals.
Oh, to the Cardinals.
Robbie Anderson to the Cardinals. Ejected from yesterday's game to the Cardinals.
Well, of course, I'm a Marquise Brown owner, and I do have D-Hop in one or two spots. So D-Hop comes in on Thursday. Marquise Brown was seen after the game in a walking boot, so that wasn't good. So I was going to go run back to the waiver wire and pick up the Dortch kid. Now Robbie Anderson, maybe he's on the waiver wire. makes it sound like Marquise Brown might be out for a while. And I talked to a few colleagues. I think it would be hasty, but if the Saints come in, don't forget, Cardinals 0-3 at home this year and have been blown out all three. Short week, face the Saints team. If they lose, it could be a spot where Kingsbury says, hey, I'm out. See you.
Yeah. This Cardinals team, like I said, I guess this is Cardinal. Going back to what I was saying about the Packers, as far as nobody instilling fear behind me, I guess the Cardinals would be that one kind of wild card team to where if everything fell perfectly, they would be the team to kind of instill some fear. But they've looked terrible, and Kyler Murray. I love his talent, but I don't know. I think he's a little full of himself and not really bought into what's going on with the offense. So. Maybe Hopkins come back and they get back to what they, because they've obviously had a ton more success with him. But I don't know. I think their issues are a little deeper than they've been in the past couple of years. So, and the Saints team, I mean, say what you want to say about the Saints team. The Saints team is in all of these games and, kind of a scrappy team at times. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in the old Carolina Panthers, Arizona Cardinals right now.
And the refs turned the blind eye. That was a pass interference on that play in the Saints game. That was the play that in the playoffs that they called it on, and the guy got raped. And
okay, I think I missed that one, honestly. That one was the noon game. I was seeing some of the
Dalton heaves it down to the right side, and the guy got tackled, and they didn't call it. And they would have.
I had Saints first half in that one, so I actually was locked into that one in the first half, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I got other games to worry about here, but. I saw you tweeting about with somebody this morning. I benefited on the old Saquon goal line slide there. I had the under 45 or under 44.5, so I was thanking my lucky stars on that one.
Yeah, that guy ended up winning like $210,000 because of that slide.
I know.
So,
that's wild. And I got him on my fantasy team, but I was at a point where I was like, I've already had a nice day. I'll take the winning ticket and a lack of a touchdown here over the fantasy touchdown for Saquon there.
I'm going to piggyback off of Sauce for a second. I'm going to switch gears here to the Eagles in Dallas. Obviously, Cooper Rush saved the season. First loss yesterday. But in my eyes watching that game, he must not have paid much attention to that Monday night game, Vikings and Eagles, when Slay, no pun intended, Slay, Jefferson, and Cousins. And his two picks yesterday was forcing the ball to Michael Gallup. One was tipped and intercepted, and one Slay just stepped right in front. Listen, it was a gift that Slay was covering Gallup. You got CeeDee Lamb over there. I don't understand why you're trying to force the ball over there.
No, I'm with you, and I that kind of felt like the end of the Cooper Rush Express, anyways, leading up to that game. So, and I hadn't gotten. I saw some information. I didn't realize he's been fantastic on first down, but then when you get to that second and third down or late in the game when it's obvious passing situations, it's just absolutely miserable, or at least a drastic drop off. So when you've got him in unpredictable situations, he can have some success, but. The difference between him and Dak is when it's obvious passing situation. He's not the guy for sure. So 4-2 though. I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan and you're expecting Dak to come back, you're probably pretty happy that you're 4-2. But at the same time, you've got 6-0 and 5-1 that you're staring up at in the division. So you probably, if you're a Cowboys fan, are telling yourself you're at least better than the Giants. But and I don't know. I obviously I told you I've got the Giants season win total, but. I'm a big Brian DeBoll believer, so that he's got him playing well, and at least they're a well-coached team right now. So I don't know what the ceiling is for the old Giants, but I don't know. They're playing fundamental football at the very least.
The comical part is the nightcap, the evening card, the Bills and the Chiefs. We've talked at length about throwing the card away. It doesn't matter. These guys go for two for no reason. They don't go for the short three for no reason. I get the fact that you were in Kansas City and you didn't think the field goals would come into play. The Bills 3 times get no points. They would have had 9 points just in field goals alone there. A battle that everyone in the world had the over. First time or second time in 8 years, in part of our parlay, I was like, let's have some fun here. And had the over in that game. And I get all my naysayers saying, this game's going under, And it was comical. The game stayed under, but it should have had 60 points plus. Again, not going for the field goals. What did I take from it? Both teams will face off again. This time, most likely in Buffalo. Could the Chiefs get picked off? Yeah, of course they can. Could the Bills get picked off? I can't see it in the playoffs if they're hosting. I don't care who comes into town. Josh just has that look this year, and
Right.
I think he's playing elite. What was your thoughts on the game?
No, I'm 100% with you. I think Buffalo is the better team. I'm also with you. And part of it, as far as, kind of piggyback on what you're saying, I think both of those teams are the clear two best teams in the AFC. And part of that is, just going down the list, you've got the Chargers, lost a little bit as far as their defense. They don't look as good as some people thought. They don't look like they're going to, on their best day, could they challenge these two teams? Absolutely. But consistency-wise, I'm not taking the Chargers to knock off either of these teams. Could they? For sure. Denver obviously it looks ugly. The Raiders obviously 1-4. And their best day, could they turn things around and knock them off on their best day? For sure. But obviously they've got a 1-4 hole to climb out of. The AFC South, Tennessee and Indy don't. Maybe Tennessee looks about as good as what people thought, but 3-2. Indy doesn't look as good. They're not going to beat the Chiefs twice in one season. I can tell you that much right now, including the playoffs. Baltimore doesn't look like. Obviously they could be. They could be 4-2, 5-1, 6-0. They've choked these games, but they don't really have part of that is they don't really have that finishing gear, honestly, to finish these teams off. I mean, say what you will about them and say that they coulda, shoulda, woulda, but they just haven't been able to finish these teams. And against the Bills and Chiefs, you would imagine, it's hard to talk yourselves into them finishing either of those teams off if they get in the position. And obviously Cincinnati, if they don't fix their offensive line issues, a handful of other issues, they're not going to do the same thing they did last year. So, yeah, it's kind of both of them look really good. The Chiefs are better than I expected, but part of it is the AFC in general just isn't there. I was expecting at least one other team to kind of be in the same conversation that we're having right now with these two teams, and that just hasn't been the case. So, I agree with you. I think we're going to see these two teams in the AFC Championship here.
All right. Other than Saturday and the college games, we talked about Alabama and Tennessee. Listen, I don't play the ref game. I don't play the blame game.
No.
And again, in 8 years, I can probably count on two hands how many times I've actually taken Bama. Had their team total, released that on Friday when word got out. Circa moved the number to 9. Everyone was 7.5. I'm like, Price is playing. Did have that minus 7.5. And listen, I know Bama's been heavily penalized all year, and it's always been Bama's gotten the calls. At one point, it was 18-4 in penalties, Bama versus Tennessee. Now, Bama is up 7 late in the game. Tennessee gets picked in the end zone.
Yep.
Alabama crosses the 50, onto the 40, onto the 30, onto the 25. Start to celebrate. Then on the TV screen, they show flag. Okay? It's like watching an NFL game. After you score a touchdown, you're waiting to see the flag because it's a 50-50 proposition. Right. So the refs converge for 3 minutes. The lead ref then puts his mic on and goes, the penalty on the field is not the block in the back during the return.
Yeah.
It's pass interference. Can you please explain that to me?
I cannot explain that to you. I don't know how to explain that to you. I mean, as far as whether or not there was a threat penalty thrown, then maybe that's the right verbiage to say. But I guess the penalty thrown on the block in the back, it doesn't matter if there is pass interference. So I guess you just don't. I don't know. I don't know how to.
Flags on the field. That was the point.
What? Okay, then no, I don't. I cannot understand. I cannot accept that or answer that for you. Maybe the dude tried to throw it out and he couldn't get it out, but that's probably unlikely. But no, it's I don't know. Just looking at the way the SEC is set up, though, there's I don't know. You could say whatever you're not a ref show guy. I'm not a ref show guy, but the next month or two of SEC football is now shaping up to Alabama's not dead. They can still run the table and get in the SEC championship, and if they win, they'll be a one-loss team in the CFP. So things have been set up for the SEC to be more than just Alabama and Georgia going forward here. So, again, I'm not a ref show guy, but who's to say if there was any influence? I don't know. But, yeah, the SEC's got a nice setup as far as more meaningful games now that Tennessee has won that game.
And the funny is, last year, Bama was the undefeated team. Georgia, no, excuse me.
Georgia was undefeated.
Georgia undefeated. Bama undefeated. No, Bama had the one.
No, Bama lost to A&M. Bama lost to A&M.
So Georgia doesn't show the playbook because they know win, lose, or draw, they're in the finals.
Right. Yeah.
So here's the scenario. Let's just say Bama cheats. Georgia goes undefeated. Now, Georgia has one of two options. We're not going to show them the playbook and let Bama into the Final Four, or step on their throats and say, hey, 2 losses, adios, amigos, and you're gone. And then you're going to get let's say it's 31-30, Georgia on a late second touchdown. The Bama nation saying, hey, we're a 2-loss team. We lost to the buzzer to Tennessee. We lost to Georgia by 1. And if there's an undefeated team, like a UCLA or USC, never mind Ohio State, I mean, this could be bedlam.
It could be. And now USC gets the loss to Utah the other night, so take them out of the picture for the most part. But you still got Clemson out undefeated. How are you going to keep an undefeated Clemson team out of there? Or how are you going to – it could be bedlam. And that's kind of what I was saying with the SEC. You've got Bama, if they roll the table, which they've got a game against Ole Miss, who's a top 10 team right now. I'll give that game to Alabama, but leading up, that hype is going to be incredible. Game against at LSU here in a couple of weeks, at least I'll give that again to Alabama. They're a much better team, but in LSU you're going to be able to build that into a really nice game there. So the SEC's got plenty of marketing opportunities. Not to mention Tennessee going to Georgia in a couple of weeks. And kudos to them, by the way. A lot of people trash on these SEC teams for scheduling a cupcake in October or November. And I usually kind of am in that camp to some degree. But they went Alabama, beat Alabama, and instead of having a letdown spot against any SEC school, they've got UT Martin coming to town this upcoming week. So before they go to Kentucky, or I think they host Kentucky after that. If they had hosted Kentucky this upcoming week after Alabama and everyone's partying in the streets for 3 days, you could talk me into a letdown spot against a Kentucky team. But home against UT Martin, I think they'll be able to sleepwalk through that one and get a win, and then go from there. And they get Kentucky, and then I think they go to Georgia after that. So, but if they keep playing the way they're playing, and maybe you catch Georgia on a bad offensive day, I could see Tennessee, having a miracle season on their hands here, and we might even see a Tennessee-Alabama rematch. But I'll give it to Georgia as of this moment right here. But the SEC's shaping up to be a nice next month and a half or so, or whatever it is, and then we'll the SEC championship is going to be obviously winner goes to the CFP, and maybe the loser gets in too. But Clemson, as far as this conversation, Clemson's got Syracuse this upcoming week, who Clemson's decently favored in that game, I think. But after that, it's pretty easy for them to get to the show, and I'm not sure who they projected to play in the ACC championship, but I am imagining Clemson's going to be undefeated. Same thing with Ohio State. So, probably those two teams, SEC winner, and then, the fourth team, whether it's 1 or 2 loss SEC team or, penciling anyone else, I don't know. But, this next month and a half of college football playoff race is going to be pretty special, I think.
As we were talking earlier, it came up on the flash here, pitch and change. Tomorrow night, Darvish versus Wheeler. Darvish versus Wheeler.
Darvish versus Wheeler in San Diego to start. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. I haven't taken a breath to think about that at the ALCS or the NLCS at all, honestly. But what was it supposed to be? Was it Darvish versus somebody else, or was Darvish? I
thought it was going to be. Was it Suarez? I thought it was Suarez one, and then maybe Wheeler, then Nola. So maybe they're going to move Wheeler and Nola up, and Suarez will pitch back at Philly. I saw Sunday at Circa, Padres minus 130, Phillies plus 110, series price. What's your initial thoughts there?
So I'll say minus 130 and plus 110. Okay. It's tough. I'm probably not going to get involved. I don't know. I'll go Phillies. I'll be on record and saying Phillies, and we got Darvish in game one. I think maybe it's time for Darvish regression. You've heard me all season long talk about good Darvish spots. Maybe this isn't the spot for him, and he's got some regression on his hands. And that, I don't know. Game one could set the tone here for this series. So, or game 1 and 2, obviously. So, I'll go on record and say the Phillies. Something's happening in the city of Philadelphia, and obviously San Diego's atmosphere has been incredible as well. But yeah, I don't have I haven't put any money down on it, but I'll go on record and lean towards the Phils.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to beat momentum. Now, don't get me wrong. San Diego obviously had some momentum as well.
Right.
The Phillies, just something about them, and it all started with that 6-run top of the ninth in St. Louis game 1.
Yeah.
They win game 2. They hit the Braves in the shin in Atlanta, and they took it home with them. Padres, I'm wondering just a tad, just a little, if the monkey is now off their back, meaning their season's done because they beat the Dodgers in a series. It's not the Dodgers, the 111 Dodgers. It's our year without Tatis. Now, don't forget, the Braves won the championship last year without Acuna. Now you got this team here where when they added Soto, the GM wasn't done. He added Hader. Hader looks like Hader again.
You called it. You called that one as far as teams that are dangerous if he can get rolling. He looks good this weekend.
So, and I know the Phillies don't have that back there, but again, if you watch what the Astros did, Javier pitched 5 scoreless innings Saturday. These guys get put into the roles. Look at what the Yankees are doing now. They're putting the pieces together in that back end.
Yeah.
Both teams, bullpen game, all hands on deck tonight. I love Tito when it comes to these bullpen games. He got my Red Sox way, way back. He is a master of this. I lean Tito coaching edge versus Boone tonight, but the Bronx is going to be buzzing.
I know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have anything going down money wager on this one tonight. I already saw some stuff. Somebody tweeted it out as far as and it got people going a little bit, and then somebody checked them a little bit. It was a tweet that the Yankees plane wasn't able to leave Cleveland last night, so they had to go back to their hotel and leave this morning. And people were starting to buzz about it and talk about Cleveland tonight. And then someone's like, wait a second, that was family and friends. The Yankees got into town at like 1 a.m. last night. Don't worry, everything's fine. So I don't know. I sometimes if you start to see those narratives get out of control, then I'm like, all right, well, who's trying to push this narrative here and why? And maybe I'm going to take the other side here. So if we start to see those types of narratives, then maybe I go into the Yankees tonight. But I don't know. Yeah, something about Cleveland, but I could see this one going either way tonight. But as far as going back to the Padres, Phillies for a second, I mean, their pitching staff, especially in the wins that they've had, has been really solid. So I don't know. If you think their pitching staff holds up and can stymie this Philly offense, then I'll go San Diego. But I don't know. I like the Padre pitching staff to regress a little bit here, and this Philly offense to, at least for one more series, stay at least reasonably hot, if not scorching hot here. So yeah, lean Phillies, and I don't know. I don't even know who I want to win out of the AL, because obviously the Cleveland is my White Sox rival, but I kind of want them to have a nice run to kind of stick it to our front office as far as, hey, this was possible here, and you let it slip right through your hands. But I also, they're one of my biggest rivals, and I also, I'm not a Yankee fan, so I'm a Yankee hater for the most part here, so I don't want them to go. I don't like the Astros, so I'm rooting for either the Phillies or the Padres to be lifting the trophy as far as a fan perspective over here on my side. But yeah, gambling talk. I don't have strong thoughts as far as the rest of these playoffs. Actually, I guess I think the Astros is a team that I have the most confidence to get through the next round, and maybe whoever they see in the World Series. That would be my highest confidence. But fan wise, I'll be rooting for the NL side this year.
Well, and the fact that the Astros have a couple extra days to rest the arms. Yeah. The one little nugget not enough people are talking about is Verlander got steamrolled his last outing. And if Verlander is not healthy, you're putting a lot more tax on the rest of the staff. Maybe it was just a bad outing. You get Cy Verlander. The fact that, the Guardians and Yankees now will go 5 games and back to back to back. My assumption, and maybe you have a date on this, does Houston and whoever start on Wednesday, or do they start on Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And if it's Cleveland, I think would have Bieber ready for game 1, if not game 2. But Cole obviously just got used last night, so he might not be till game 2 or 3 for the Yanks. So, yeah, the Astros are obviously happy that they're using all these guys. But Cleveland, at least if they can get through this game, kind of schedule it to, they should have, Bieber and Sticks ready to go. If not game 1 and 2, then 2 and 3. So maybe you like that for Cleveland, but. Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for tonight. But I don't know. I don't have strong thoughts about tonight.
All right, there's an NFL game tonight. Chargers in Denver. Denver again on prime time for the bazillionth time.
Yeah.
Here's something that, again, my eyes are my eyes. I can read a market. Chargers -4. It is what it is. You can take Herbert and the crew versus a Denver team that's struggling offensively with a good defense. If I told you that the actual computer model and overnight number before all this week of nonsense and cherry picking, total was 47 and a hook. It's now 45 and a hook. Unless they're trying to say 27-20, but the number is 4. They're not telling you that. So are we to believe this is a 21-21 with the field? Nope. A 23-23 game with the winning field goal. My point is, believe it or not, I think there's some points to be scored tonight.
Right. No, I'm with you. And I mean, unfortunately, part of it, my not knowing, I haven't had a chance to watch much of the Chargers the last 2 weeks. I haven't heard great things about them. And I had a lot of faith coming into this season for the Chargers. But, losing Bosa obviously hurts, and they just haven't looked as good as you would like them to look. But I don't know. As far as the Denver, again, if we start to see a pile of people hating on Denver and everyone's taking the under because Denver can't move the ball, then maybe we go. I'm with you, but at the end of the day, I think I'm with you because I imagine Denver is going to see better days going forward. Whether that's because they changed things up completely, whether Russ looks a lot better, I don't know. I imagine this offense is going to look a lot better, but this Chargers defense hasn't been very good the last couple of weeks from what I see. Again, I haven't watched them, but the last 4 weeks they haven't been good. So I could see Denver putting up some points. And the Chargers themselves, 3-2, not really a spot where you can suffer a loss the way this division's going. So you would expect this offense to have some urgency. So I'm with you. I'm interested. I could absolutely see some points tonight as far as this game is concerned. Denver, there's the hesitation of what I've seen from Denver is what's keeping me out of this game. But at some point, I do believe that this Denver offense is going to look at least somewhat better. I mean, they were miserable a week and a half ago, and now they got an extra few days to prepare. So you would expect this offense to be better, and that's where I would lean as far as at least points. But no, I'm still staying out of it. There's still some question marks, but I'm with you. I could expect some points. It would not shock me. I was expecting some points in that Colts and Denver game to some degree based on the way people were talking a little too heavily against these two teams, and obviously it didn't happen. So I could see it. Just not confident enough to lay any money down on it tonight at this point.
Something doesn't add up here. I'm looking at – I'm spanning the globe here. Something's not adding up. The team totals right now, Chargers 24.5 juiced over -120. Denver 20.5 juiced under -130. Now, when I see a 20.5 juiced under, I mean, your first instinct is to go to the over to the 21, but they're giving you plus money for Denver to get to 21 today. That makes no sense to me.
Right.
Chargers 24 and a hook juiced over. Maybe that's the play where they're going to get to 27, or maybe it's 30. Maybe this is a 30-23 game. I don't know. Something smells here.
No, something definitely smells, and I mean that's where, as far as the Denver team total, maybe you would expect that, but the general public is this team can't get any lower than it is. So I don't know how many people are going to be rushing to the over 20.5. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe the general public just isn't team total, but I don't know. But something smells for sure. I'm staying away from it. I don't know. I guess if I'm going anywhere, it might be that Chargers team total, expecting them to have some offensive success, but 21-14 isn't fast. I don't know. It's a hard stay away for me. I've got a touchdown prop that I think is somewhat interesting, but aside from that, I'm staying far away from this one.
All right. I didn't even think of mine, so I'm going to give you the stage first.
It's not a long-winded thing, and it's more of a long play. If it doesn't work out tonight, I'll be back on it. But Justin Herbert, 5 rushing touchdowns year 1, 3 last year, hasn't gotten into the end zone yet this year. right around 5-1. I can't remember. I don't remember if it was last Monday night, last Thursday, whoever it exactly was. But you mentioned somebody else as far as kind of that strategy of picking a quarterback to get into the end zone, and eventually he'll get there. I can't remember exactly who it was. I don't know if it was Russ on the other side, maybe even, or who exactly it was.
No, I'll think about it. I know
Maybe it was.
exactly who. I forget.
Was
who
it Matt
was.
Ryan? Was it Matt Ryan last Thursday?
Probably was.
Okay, but either way, different odds here, around 5-1, like I said. But I have a lot more confidence that, especially hasn't gotten into it yet. I have some confidence that eventually this one will pay off. So, like I said, more of a long play at this point. I haven't played it up until this point. Kind of just, was looking at some things and noticed, like I said, 5 rushing touchdowns year 1, 3 last year, 0 so far this year. So I'm gonna. It's the point where I'm riding the Justin Herbert anytime touchdown train until it works, and then I'll pop back off. But that's where I'm going tonight. That's all I've got so far right now.
What is Russ to score?
Let's see. I was looking at that. I'll get that real quick. I want to say it was longer odds. Let's see. Herbert for 6-1. He is 6-1. Russ is 6-1.
All right, I'll piggyback off of you. I'll go Russ gets in today. How's that?
Okay. I like it. Let's see. Anyone else as far as non-quarterback? Nobody that really jumped off the page to me. Eckler's minus 135. I'm not going to pay minus on that one. You've got Boone and Gordon plus 155, but I don't know. I just don't want to have egg on my face. I'm just staying away from all of these in general because I don't want to have egg on my face and the Denver Broncos look exactly like they've looked the last 2, whatever weeks, and their offense is doing nothing. They don't get in the end zone at all, but I don't know. I could see either their running backs get in. Judy is 2-1. Sutton plus 165. Maybe Sutton. Maybe we're in for a nice Sutton night. I don't know. But, I don't have the strongest thoughts on any of these guys to get into the end zone tonight.
Denver is one of the top teams in the league against wide receivers. What's the Chargers tight end to score?
Gerald Everett, right?
Yeah.
260.
All right, I'll go Everett there.
Okay.
I think, again, wide receivers, I was thinking the sneaky one that, Keenan Allen, assuming obviously out. Big Mike could have a day, but the sneaky wide receiver in my eyes would be Joshua Palmer.
Palmer, 250.
Yeah.
250.
I think he could sneak in there. I actually had to play the DeAndre kid in one of my leagues this week. What's he, $1,000,000 to 1?
I actually swiped out of it here. Let's see. DeAndre Carter, 460.
He should be 4,600.
Yeah. I don't know. I maybe a defensive touchdown. I'm not a big defensive touchdown player, but maybe we see a defensive touchdown either way. I don't know, but I'll stick with my Justin Herbert touchdown, and maybe if I've got a random promo on one of my books or something like that, maybe I'll get involved with one of those or anything like that. But nothing. Yeah, I had a nice day yesterday, so I'm sitting back, kicking my feet up, and enjoying the day for the most part here today.
That's what it's all about, and it's like you have a good windfall, and then you see the people running to the store getting the $300 pair of Jordans. Got to get a new gold chain. Going to take go get some steak and lobster, and they forget about the next couple of weeks when they lose, and then they don't have the money to pay. And the guy's like,
Right.
"What do you mean you don't have the money to pay? I just paid you $1,500. Well, I got a new pair of Jordans, and I had to get the new Xbox, and I don't really care.
Yeah. No, that's not going to go over so well. And and not only that, but you got the NBA starting tomorrow, and I am really excited for the NBA to come back. But opening night or first week or so, I've never had a ton of success in the NBA, so I'll be treading lightly on that for the first week or so on the NBA. That I don't know about you, but this one. Throughout my life, it always seems to have started around Halloween weekend. So in my head, I did plenty of research well in advance. So it's not an issue of I'm scrambling this week or anything like that. But I looked at the schedule last week without realizing that it was a week away, and then did the same thing basically again and thought it was like Thursday that it was starting without realizing that it was tomorrow. So I don't know. These NHL and NBA seems to start earlier and earlier every year, and it always seems too early, but NHL. It's going to take a while for me to get invested in, but NBA I'll be watching tomorrow. But betting wise, it's gonna. I don't know. Takes me at least a week or so to get into get the feel of things for the NBA there.
Yeah, homework assignment. Take a look at the East and West. Maybe a potential division winner. Maybe a long shot on both sides. I can just tell you, outside looking in, A lot of the sharper guys are in on the Clippers for some reason this year. Public buying the Zion sizzle. He's healthy. For me, outside looking in, last year I couldn't have been more spot on. I had Golden State in September before the season started. I thought the 10-11-1 was a gift. My two sleepers in the East was Miami, was the Bulls. They both came out guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
The Celtics, did their thing. I would just say right now in the East, I like a team that is well coached, that has veterans, that are coming off a year after the championship. I would grab some Bucks before the season started. I think they're primed to be just saying, hey, let the Udoka thing settle. Philly will be Philly. I still like Miami. I think your Bulls will be good. I'm going to put my money right now on the Bucks.
I think that is the safest, most sound team to take on, maybe even on either side, honestly, just because you would imagine that they will be there and at least have a chance for sure. Middleton, it sounds like, is going to miss a couple weeks, but as far as the start of the season, who cares? As long as he comes back fine, they'll be fine. And you would imagine maybe not quite as hungry last year, or maybe even say if they had Middleton, they would have had a better chance. But now you imagine Giannis and company is going to be pretty damn hungry after what they saw and having a winnable path here. And, yeah, you mentioned it. The Celtics could have some, question marks as far as the whole situation going around their organization. You never know what the Nets are going to do this season, whether it's good or bad. I mean, you could talk yourselves a million different ways about the Nets. And the Heat, the Heat didn't really add anything to make you feel like they're going to elevate or anything like that. So I think, the Milwaukee is a good chance. I have some faith that Philly is going to be better this year and they're going to work things out. So that is, along with the Bucks, that's probably my second team that I'm throwing in the ring on my side of things. The Clippers thing, I'm someone who has belief in Kawhi if he can get to that point. Regular season wise, win totals, whatever, I'm not touching them because Kawhi and Paul George might not even play 60 games total. They're going to get so much rest that's their MO. So as far as the win totals, I've got a couple teams, and last year I had Grizzlies and Raptors fly over. So I had some awesome win totals last year. I like taking the middle teams in the middle, with 30, 40 season totals because you avoid the Sixers, the Clippers, where they're going to rest their guys and you don't know. If they're going to, maybe it'll be 50-win teams, but they're, pushing the chips to the playoffs. Or on the opposite side, I had some thoughts on maybe some, the low 20s season win totals, but then you see the buzz going around about Victor. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Victor Wembanyama, whatever you. Yeah. And you have to imagine that there's going to be some teams in the bottom 4 or 5 teams are going to be potentially heavily taken for the guy. So, I'm staying far away from those, at least on the overs. I might even think about the unders on some of those potential tanking teams there. So, there's some teams in the middle that I like. The one that I really like, but it seems like the general public is also very much high on, is the Detroit Pistons. It seems like everyone's buying the sizzle on the Pistons this year. I'm a big Jaden Ivey guy, who I did take a piece of him for Rookie of the Year. Because I think he's really good. I also really like Cade Cunningham. So I took a little alternate. I think they can get to 35 wins and be a dark horse for a play-in spot there in the East. But I think they have a fun season there. And then the Bulls. I'll have some thoughts on the Bulls for sure. I'm tempering my expectations. If they have a fun season, I'll be. I'm not pessimistic by any means, but I'm about as neutral as their season win total is, right around 500. So, hoping Lonzo comes back and gets both sides of the court kind of looking like it did the first portion of last season when he was healthy, as opposed to what we saw February and March for the Bulls. But, I'm just hoping we get a fun season out of the Bulls. And, if they exceed my expectations, then I'll be thrilled. If they're a less than 500 team, I'll probably be disappointed, but not going to be as frustrated with the 500 season like I was with the White Sox. Not the same type of expectations there in between the two Chicago teams. So if they finish 500, I'll be a lot happier than I was when the White Sox finished 500. You can count on that.
I'm going to close with this just for anyone watching and listening. Full slate, big slate in the NHL right now. Couple things caught my eyes, guys. If you want to take a little pizza and beer, Florida comes into Boston today. You can get some plus money on the Florida team total over 3.5. You can get that around plus 110. And the team that's kind of stunk so far, absolutely horrendous, and they've been at home the first couple of games, is the Wild. They are giving up goals, and more goals, and now they play the Avs. It's kind of comical. Colorado's team total 3.5 juiced under -140. Minnesota team total 3.5 juiced under -155. Yet the team total is 6.5 over. I'm going to give everyone a curveball here. The Wild have looked like, excuse my French, ass.
Yeah.
And their Avs are just a short favorite. I think the Wild get their first win of the year tonight. I think they stun the Stanley Cup champs.
I like that. I mean, I think you could use me as a resource as far as being just, a clueless, kind of NHL fan. I pull up the slate and I see the big, mighty Colorado Avalanche at -125 against a team that I know the Wild are a good team, but 0-2, like you said. That's a little fishy. So I can buy into that with you for sure there. That one would have potentially fooled me if I was, not getting any real advice from somebody that actually knows what they're talking about.
Last question to you, Southside. Who's traveling to Houston on Wednesday?
I think it's the Yankees. Like I said, I don't know who I want to win. Cleveland's my rival from a White Sox perspective as well. Nobody likes the Yankees, but I don't know. I'll give it to the Yankees. If I think the Cleveland Guardians needed to win last night to close things out. But I'll give it to the Yankees heading to Houston on Wednesday.
Usually these bullpen games are these tight games. Cy Talion for the Yanks.
He got beat up the other day, though, didn't he? Out of the bullpen? Did he end up figuring things out? He got beat up a little bit out of the bullpen, though, didn't he, the other day? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No. He got blown up.
Yeah.
So again, you probably get, it all depends. If the Yankees get the crowd going early, maybe a Judge homer, a Stanton homer. But as the innings progress and you allow the tribe, Tito and the Guardians to hang around, it gets quiet in the Bronx like everywhere else.
Yep. And the last thing I'll say, I know a lot of people had, mixed emotions. People, a lot of people love the Josh Naylor celebration around the bases yesterday. A lot of people hate the Josh Naylor celebration around the rocking the baby. Coming from a rival team, when you get that man going and doing that type of stuff, he is a scary, scary man. He is 2 for 5 lifetime against Mr. Cy Talion there. So I don't know. When he's going, he is a scary man, and that is a much scarier team. I might be talking myself the other way. Like I said, I don't have any true money down yet on this one, and I was barely leaning the Yankees. But if he's going, man, and he's doing that type of stuff, you better watch out because he's a scary person when he's rolling.
All right, well, we'll close with this. Get the home run props up.
I'm talking myself into it. I mean, like I said, they obviously lost, but I don't think that's going to change their feelings over there. Judge is the top one, 250. Josh Naylor, 450. So they want you to take a swing at Josh Naylor today, but I don't know. I might put a little down on it. I don't know.
What about Jose? Can you see?
370.
All right.
Well, 370 also.
We'll sprinkle a little Nader and Jose Ramirez. How's that?
I like it. He's just I tweeted it. He had the extra inning RBI of whatever day it was, and it was PTSD from a White Sox fan perspective. That man is the boogeyman. So I just imagine he's going to hit a clutch home run. If Cleveland's winning, it's because him or Ramirez is doing something clutch, or even Oscar. Who knows? That team oozes clutch. So who knows, man?
An amazing hour. We could have gone for another hour. So tomorrow, what?
Didn't even talk Midday. No, it's all right. Yeah.
But, it's funny because all the sharps, the respected money, were biting their tongue because they already had Minnesota on Friday night, and then DeVito, and the rest was history.
Yeah, and we can close it out there. I will still say Minnesota would have won that game by 2 touchdowns if Sitkowski was playing. That's how big of a difference it is, especially because DeVito was very good on Sunday. The difference between him and Sitkowski is massive. So I still stand by my thoughts of if Sitkowski's playing, I'll take Minnesota at any number. And then, DeVito, I wrote it in my blog as well. If DeVito's playing, then I'll happily be out. And as a slight Illinois fan, I'm interested. But Minnesota going to Penn State, 4.5, 5-point dogs, both off a bounce back. I'm slightly interested in a little Minnesota action early already.
I was thinking of you right away when I was pulling up those numbers. Someone was talking about teams that go 5-0 and come off an emotional loss. They're not good the next week. I'll be talking to Dave throughout the week. I think it might be whiteout night though, which is always a big, down at Penn State. But the number screams Minnesota. Minnesota.
And like I said, I obviously have looked a little stupid over the last 2 weeks of how hyped I was on Minnesota, but I've been on the Purdue hype train as well. Like I said, I'm trying to be as unbiased of an Illinois fan. I really don't know what to expect out of this team, but they're playing well. The number that also is surprising, Purdue's road underdog to Wisconsin this upcoming week. Purdue's got a chance to run the table and make the Big Ten championship. They're underdogs. A little fishy, but I'm gonna go ahead early and call BS and say Purdue gets the win. But I'll be lying if I said I wasn't concerned as far as why the old Boilermakers are underdogs there.
Well, and then I'll also say this: my team totals on the desk were 5-0. I talked about Indiana over the 24.5. They came rolling home. We had the Bama team total. I had the Utah team total. That thing went flying over.
Yeah.
My eyes on the team totals have been pretty damn good of late. We went into Tulane against South Florida, grabbed that one. But there's some numbers I'm already keeping up to say we might be giving out a few freebies earlier this week. How's that sound?
How about that? And I guess the last thing, the public had a huge day on Saturday. I don't know. It seems like some of those days where it's the hype on those type of days is maybe the day where they give the public a little cookie and try to keep them around. I don't know. Maybe I'm grasping at straws here, but those big build days sometimes are the days where every once in a while the public can have a nice day. So I don't know. But, I try to avoid all those games. I went, barely profitable on Saturday. I had the Michigan team total. We were talking about that one. I went into LSU. That one was a whirlwind game for sure. I took a piece of LSU, and then I had the under in Mississippi State and Mississippi State, Kentucky. That one not quite as nice as the Saquon slide, but they were at the goal line as well and stopped short of the goal line for a first down. It wasn't intentional, I don't think. I think they actually got tackled, but it was another one where I was on the edge of my seat waiting for the under on the old Mississippi State game there. So. 3-2 Saturday, and then a really nice weekend, or a really nice Sunday for me yesterday.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only SouthSide RILEY at Riley_Magnuson01. We wish everyone an amazing day. It's the new start of the week, guys. You got the NFL, you got Game 5 in the Bronx, you got a full slate of hockey. Have some fun. If you had a bad week last week, dust it off. You're not going to get all that money back on Monday. If you think you are, please call. Send me an email at eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. Send me a DM, something, because no, you don't go back chasing, pressing, doubling, and tripling down.
Not only today, as far as the 2 games tonight in NHL, but also tomorrow with the start of NBA. There's going to be a lot of people doing that with the NBA, and opening night and opening week of the NBA is so tricky. I was trying to look at it already, and I'll have my thoughts and leans and whatnot, but I'm not putting any money down, again, unless it's some promo, risk-free type stuff for entertainment. But other than that, I'm staying far away from tomorrow's NBA slate as well, gambling-wise.
Have an amazing day. I'll circle the wagons. We'll figure out midday. We'll do a closing bell or something. We'll try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and we'll keep it rolling.
Sounds good to me.
All right, peeps. Have a day. We'll see you tomorrow.